Hello. Tonight on Weekend File, we take a closer look at the Almajiri phenomenon in Nigeria. Almajiri system is a long historic tradition which many Islamic scholars in Nigeria believe deviated from its noble cause. This system, as we read in history, started around the 11th century in the defunct Borno Empire and, of course, replicated in the Sokoto Caliphate, designed to educate immigrant children. But in modern Nigeria, this refers to children who left their towns, parents, friends, and relations in search of education, usually placed under the tutelage of malams or teachers. Over time, and in the course of civilization and its attendant population explosion, the children classified as Almajiri grew in large numbers, apparently beyond the control of the malams, and their next option, street begging. They are found at places of worship, filling stations, superstores, even events, venues, and traffic junctions, looking malnourished, eating from leftovers, and sufficiently exposed to diseases and child abuse. Some analysts believe that most of them who grow into adulthood in the streets without parental guidance are ready-made tools for armed robbers, kidnappers, assassins, and bandits who hoodwink and in some cases force them into playing key roles in their nefarious activities. Currently, the federal government has initiated the process of abolishing the Almajiri system in collaboration with state governments to enforce the policy of education for every child. Now, my guest tonight on the show is the governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Sule. My name is Kirian Umayo, and this is where we dissect national issues. Weekend File. Thank you for joining us. The news part starts now. President Muhammadu Buhari is in Niamey, the Republic of Niger, ahead of the African Union Summit in the neighboring West African nation on Sunday. The State House correspondent Ademu Sambo reports that during the extraordinary session, the operational instruments of the agreement establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area will be launched.
Accompanied by the First Lady Aisha Buhari, the Nigerian leader alighted the presidential aircraft at Diori Hamani International Airport, Niamey, at about 10 minutes past 7 Saturday evening local time. On hand to give him a befitting reception was a high-powered Nigerian government delegation led by President Muhammadu Isufu. Also at the airport were the governors of Borno, Katsina, and Kebbi states, Nigerian ambassador to Niger, permanent secretaries of foreign affairs, as well as industry, trade and investment, Secretary General, Nigeria-Niger Joint Commission for Cooperation, and other senior government officials. Expected to draw attention at the Niamey summit, which is also the first media coordination meeting of the African Union and the regional economic communities, is the planned signing by Nigeria of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement.
It had been an issue the whole continent had been waiting, because if anything happens in Africa and Nigeria is not there, it is not complete. So the fact that Nigeria had declined to sign before and has agreed to sign now is definitely an issue of interest. That is why all the countries who are here in Niamey are waiting for Nigeria to actually put pen to paper, because with that, the deed is done and Africa is ready to go.
President Muhammadu Buhari had made it clear before coming to Niamey that for the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement to succeed, Africa must have a manufacturing agenda that not only promotes production and job opportunities, but also guarantees free movement of made-in-Africa goods.
And that is something that I think it should be food for thought for all the African heads of states who are here. Nigeria should not just be a trading area, it should also be manufacturing area, so that as it receives, it also has something to give, to expand the market, so to speak.
The treaty establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area aims to, amongst others, create a single continental market for goods and services, expand intra-Africa trade, as well as expedite the regional and continental integration processes. From Niamey, Republic of Niger, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The federal government has developed a multifaceted approach to effectively address emerging security challenges across the country. President Muhammadu Buhari announced this in a message delivered by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo to the grand finale of the 2019 Nigerian Army Day celebration in Lagos. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports.
These are officers and soldiers of the 81 Division in a parade traced to the Global Hausa, an 18-man force established by John Glover in 1863 to protect British trade routes. The force that has transformed into the Nigerian Army over decades has expanded in scope and developed combat strength. From a small unit in Lagos to a large fighting formation with 21 specialized corps and 8 divisions spread across the country. These developments, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, noted, will be supported to enhance the capacity of the Army to tackle emerging internal security threats.
Let me use this opportunity to reiterate our absolute determination to achieve success in our fight against insurgency and other forms of criminal conduct in the country. You, the members of the Nigerian Armed Forces, have continued to put in your best on behalf of our country. Several of your colleagues have indeed paid the supreme price in order to keep us safe and secure. We acknowledge and appreciate these sacrifices and pray for the repose of the souls of the deceased. Our hearts are with their families and loved ones. It is our responsibility as a government and as political leaders to ensure that they did not and do not die in vain.
To the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuku Buratai, the annual event is a platform to showcase the Army's history, value and achievements.
Similarly, it is aimed at projecting the Nigerian Army as a key instrument of national power, unity, integration and development. Our efforts must not be relaxed until our mission of complete defeat of the insurgents and other criminals in the country is attained.
The Army Day celebration with the theme, Responsive Soldiering, a panacea for successful military operation, also featured the Combat Training Week. From Ikeja in Lagos, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
On more security matters, the Nigerian Air Force is engaging more states in its quest to tackle security challenges in the country head-on. This was demonstrated at a Special Operation Regiment dinner in Bauchi. Mahmoud Ibn Mohammed reports.
Introduced in the 16th century, the regimental dinner provides an avenue for the Nigerian armed forces to take some time out of duty to wine and dine as well as honor heroes in addition to celebrating battle victories. With the promise to work closely with all security agencies in the state, Governor Bala Mohammed applauded the nation's armed forces for living up to their responsibilities.
I wish to commend the Nigerian Air Force for finding it very important in engaging its officers on this noble tradition of regimental dinner night, despite the demanding task of maintaining peace in the country.
Accept our sincere gratitude for the support the Nigerian Air Force is enjoying from your government and the wonderful people of Bauchi State.
The regimental dinner was also graced by the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, and some top officers of the Nigerian Air Force. In Bauchi, Mahmoud Ibn Muhammad, NTA News.
Magajin Garindaura Musa Omar has commended the efforts of security agents in ensuring his rescue from abductors. While speaking in an exclusive interview with NTA, Musa Omar expressed appreciation to Nigerians who joined his family in prayers for his safe return. Namdi Odibo tells us more.
Footed, unshaven and seemingly dazed, these pictures gave the world a glimpse of Magajin Garin Daura Alhaji Musa Umar in the early hours of his rescue. Days later, now fully back to the warmth of family life, he definitely looks better and exudes an inner peace. Though he chooses to speak publicly for the first time about his 2-month-long abduction ordeal, he's somewhat reluctant to relive what must have been a horrific experience. Alhaji Umar is thankful to family, friends, the government, and Nigerians generally.
Praise be to God for sparing my life to see this day. I appreciate the joint effort of security operatives toward my rescue. I'm grateful to all Nigerians for their prayers.
Magiji Ganrin Daura was abducted in front of his home in Daura on the 1st of May. It took the combined efforts of the Nigerian police and the State Security Service, which trailed, monitored, and eventually caught up with the kidnappers in a settlement not far from Kano Metropolis. In Abuja, Nnamdi Odipo, NTA News.
Kano State Police Command has arrested 87 suspects for various offenses, among them a syndicate who specializes in kidnapping. Fatima Sanusi Karaye reports that the suspects were arrested in different locations in Kano Metropolis.
The State Police Command also recovered dangerous weapons, which include locally made pistols, live ammunitions, illicit drugs, stolen vehicles, among others. The suspects are alleged thieves, armed robbers, drug addicts, and cattle rustlers. The State Commissioner of Police, Ahmed Ilyasu, said the command has embarked on surveillance to secure the entire state. He said the raid was conducted in some flashpoint suspected to be a hideout for illicit activities.
5 armed robbery kidnapping suspects were arrested in the state. They have been terrorizing people at Falgore Forest and other parts of the state. 2 locally made single-barrel guns were recovered from them. Effort is in progress to arrest the 6 fleeing members of this dreaded syndicate.
The suspects will be charged to court upon completion of investigation. In Kano, Fatima Sanusi Garai, NTA News.
Now, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Abubakar Mohammed Adamu, has described the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Dr. Maikanti Baru, as a thoroughbred professional who would be greatly missed. The IGP said this when Dr. Baru paid him a visit at the force headquarters, Abuja, to introduce his successor, Malam Mele Kyari. The police boss pledged to sustain the existing working relationship between the police and NNPC, especially in the area of oil and gas asset security. In his remarks, Dr. Baru expressed appreciation to the IGP for the support and professionalism the police have shown in fighting crime and security in the country. Now, about 753 cadets on 2019 officers' basic course at the Federal Road Safety Corps Academy, UDI, Enugu State, have passed out after a 6-month training. Comfort IM reports that 7 persons received awards for distinguishing themselves in the areas of assessment.
It was a beautiful sight as the FRSC Academy Regimental Band set the tune for the passing out parade. A general salute by the FRSC boss, Dr. Boboye Oyeyemi, who was also the reviewing officer, marked the opening of the ceremony as he inspects the parade. He says the occasion marks the formal conclusion of a 6-month basic course for new entrants.
I most specifically want all new entrants to be mindful of their conducts and shun all negative tendencies likely to prejudice national security, especially as the nation passes through a critical phase in our national development.
Cadets who have distinguished themselves in the area of assessment were awarded.
It's been very, very okay. At least it has made us regimented and sound and good for the job.
You can see them jubilating with their parents, guardians, family members, well-wishers from all walks of life who came to witness the passing out parade, which ended successfully. From the FRSC Academy, UDI, Enugu State, Comfort Ayim, NTA News.
President of the Senate, Ahmad Lawan has congratulated Malam Abba Kyari, the Chief of Staff to the President and the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, over their reappointments by the President. A statement by his Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, Mohammed Issa, said the reappointment was a confirmation of the confidence and trust the President reposed in them. The Senate President observed that as key figures of the present administration, the roles played by the Chief of Staff and the SGF in achieving the successes recorded so far by the President cannot be overstated. He urged them to use their renewed mandate to redouble their commitment and deploy their wealth of experience to assist the President in achieving his next level agenda. And among news now, the best way to break the shackles of poverty and hate is to reach out to those in need through the provision of basic amenities. This has been demonstrated with the provision of 100,000 liters capacity solar-powered water treatment plant and other projects for Daura and the Mosawa communities of Katsina State, as well as the Misau in Bauchi State. Abdulkarim Mohammed Zumiri has a report.
These projects are a way to alleviate the pressures of the nation's citizens by providing basic amenities to communities. Daura and Masua communities in Katsina State are now beneficiaries of said projects, touching the lives of people in the vicinity. It certainly is a step in the right direction, as clean and potable water will now be accessed by all.
OPC is a firm and strong believer in investing and touching the lives of Nigerians through all possible means.
On behalf of the people of this college, I thank you so much. And I again assure you that with the assistance of government, we will continue to sustain and ensure the sustainability of this project so that 10 years, 20 years from now when you come, you will still find it the way you left it today.
This would also help in battling illnesses, as the project also aims at eliminating waterborne diseases caused by contaminated water and keeping its people safe and healthy. This was also the case in Misau, Bauchi State, as solar panels, portable water facilities and drainages were commissioned in the state.
We believe strongly that these projects that we've embarked upon and those that are benefited from these projects, including the contractors and the personnel that work there, and the users of this project will have this remarkable experience as a big way to share love within themselves.
The hope is for other organizations to take part in projects such as this and lend a helping hand to those who are in need of it. In Abuja, Abdulkarim Mohammed Zurmi, NTA News.
The Catholic Women Organization of Nigeria is advocating more missionary participation in the country's education sector. The national president, Nwaneka Okolo, recalls the role that Catholic Church has played in the sector in the past, which made a lot of impact in educating and, of course, training of Nigerian children for leadership roles. She explained that it is for this reason the Comary Boys College, a secondary school, is taking off in September.
Having built and developed the school apostolates at all levels, the national body, that is CWN, conceived the idea of having a college where we shall contribute to addressing these societal ills. The CWN dreamt of a college which would combine academic excellence with good moral upbringing.
She explained, she rather said that the school will give a concession to indigent students. Now, Yobe State Governor Mai Malabuni has said that his administration will resuscitate and put back to use state government-owned moribund industries to generate more opportunities and enhance the agricultural value chain in the state. The governor disclosed this during a tour of various agricultural facilities. Mustafa Yusuf Musa reports.
In the last 8 years, about 10 industries went moribund in Yobe State, leaving in its wake hundreds of unemployed people, particularly youth, with millions of naira equipment laying waste. Worried by the trend, Governor Mai Malabuni went on familiarization tours with these industries in preparation to resuscitate and revamp them to generate employment and revenue to the coffers of government. During the visit, Governor Mai Malabuni said the woven sacks enterprise of Yobe State Poultry and Woven Sacks Company, as well as the Sahel Aluminium Company, will be resuscitated and upgraded to spur economic activity in the state. At the Yobe flour and feed mills in Patiskum town, which is 90% owned by government, the governor was told that the company stopped production in 2012 due to high operating costs, poor management, and other hamstrings.
In line with our determination to revive all the factories in the Yobe State, not only to create jobs to our teeming youth, but also in addition to other normal benefits that will accrue to the state.
During his inaugural speech, Governor Mulabuni said as part of economic policy of his administration, he will ensure revival of moribund industries to create jobs and generate revenue for government. In Damaturu, I am Mustafa Yusuf Musa, NTA News.
You're watching Weekend File, and thanks for keeping it here with us today. And we are tackling the Almajiri phenomenon, believed to contribute to greater percentage of the estimated 13 million out-of-school children in Nigeria. More insight on this from our correspondents, and that's after the break. You are welcome back. Now let's turn our attention to Bauchi State, where parents seem to have abdicated one of their core Islamic and constitutional responsibilities to their children. Correspondent Abbas Mekano reports that the search for food, clothing, and other needs is driving children out of the streets of northern states in their numbers.
Bauchi, just like any other city in the northern Nigeria, has a number of children of school age roaming the streets, other busy areas begging for what to eat, and some other needs. Most of these children, known as Almajiri, belong to a Quranic and girls schools, an informal system of child upbringing that dates as far back as many centuries. The children who migrated from faraway villages to major cities suffers multiple abuses such as child labor, bullying from elders among them. Sheikh Dair Usman Bauchi is a renowned Islamic scholar based in Bauchi. Every Muslim wants his child to be a good Muslim and can only achieve that if he enrolls him into Quranic schools to learn its content for prayers and other religious obligations. For example, if he has 10 or more children and enroll 2 into Quranic schools and the rest in Western education schools, how can he cater for all of them, including those in Quranic school? That is why it's left for the entire Muslim community to contribute towards the feeding of these Almajiris. However, Sheikh Dam Azumi Musa Tafawa Balewa, who traced the history of the practice in Nigeria to 100 years, described it as unintended negative effect of this type of Quranic school.
The custom of begging is one of the side effects and also the non-channel attitude on the lack of support from the government.
Some parents also bear their minds on the situation.
It's traumatizing actually, because you place yourself in the shoes of those children and you pity them. It's a pity, and parents should be up and doing, should be alive to their responsibility as imposed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and by the law.
The general suggestion towards the way out of the problem by the respondents is that government and entire Muslim community need to do a lot to help these children. In Bauchi, Abbas Mekano, NTA News.
It is estimated that 3 million out-of-school children in Kano State alone is raising concerns among key players in the state. Most of these children are said to be victims of parental neglect and societal indifference. Fatima Sanusi Karaye reports that engaging some of these children is quite sympathetic and revealing.
This startling revelation has painted a picture of hopelessness among these children, as they are surviving under this comforting situation, which makes them vulnerable to all forms of societal ills.
These children around me are Nigerians and who have the right, like any other child in the country, to quality education, good medical health care, and good living. But they found themselves in this ugly situation. This could be due to parental neglect or ignorance. These children may come from different parts of the country, but they have one thing in common. That is, they have a dream.
For instance, 10-year-old Babangida, an ambitious child, but is among out-of-school children who has been roaming major streets in Kano for survival. His dream is to become a health worker one day. However, This may be a mirage on account of his present status, but Kano State government is concerned over the plight of out-of-school children, and far-reaching policy measures have been adopted.
Government is ready and has made the pronouncement. It will declare state of emergency on education. It will declare free and compulsory education from primary school to secondary school.
For these children who have been living in destitution, they can be better citizens if there is a change of heart among parents and also the society. In Kano, Fatima Sanusi Araye for Weekend File.
Sokoto State has its own share of the Almajiri phenomenon, but as correspondent Muhammad Nasiri reports, legislation to address gray areas might be the appropriate solution.
This is an informal system of education in Nigeria where a knowledgeable person gathers children from neighbors and teach them the rudiments of Islam. The system, which involved taking pupils away from their parents, had previously contributed towards educating people, the tenets of Islam. However, the system as practiced today is a complete deviation from the initial form, as the children are now exposed to many dangers.
These children, they have right as Nigerians to be educated and in an atmosphere that encourages learning.
Islam totally is not encouraging begging. The responsibility of children is on the shoulder of their parents. So it is their parents' responsibility wherever they are.
Children involved in the Almajiri system are potential doctors, engineers, and other professionals who are exposed to social problems that can ruin their lives. What then should be done to tackle the situation?
There has to be a multi-state, multicultural legislation that will take out one of the major problems of the system, that of begging. And the legislation should also include provision and funding for incorporating skills into the system. Second, we need serious and sustained sensitization campaign, both to the parents, to the teachers, and to communities, on the need for parents to retain their responsibility.
There are many nations who had people in Malaysia, in Indonesia, in United Arab Emirates, where they are Muslim as we are. They have the way they have catered for those children. That is what we need to look into and cater for these children.
In improving the system of Almajiri in Nigeria, all stakeholders must be realistic and shun corruption to make it better. In Sokoto, Muhammad Nasir, NTA News.
You're watching Weekend File on the network service of the NTA. Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State is my guest tonight, and he will be talking to us in a short while. Welcome back. We are concerned tonight with ending the menace of Almajiri phenomenon, and Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State is here with us in the studio to, of course, answer questions concerning the Almajiri phenomenon. Your Excellency, you're welcome to Weekend File.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you are the first governor to be appearing on this show since the inauguration of the present administration. It's our pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Now, some people have different understanding about the Almajiri system. We try to trace the origin at the opening comment. But for the benefit of doubt, let's get a clearer picture of what this concept is all about.
Well, just like the controversial Ruga project, that was completely misunderstood. I think we have total misunderstanding also of the Almajiri system. Almajiri system is actually a system of acquiring education, search for education, where children leave their homes, the comfort of their homes and their parents, to go out for acquiring Islamic knowledge. In the process, they also acquire world knowledge, interaction with other people. They have the opportunity to understand how other places look like. But unfortunately, these days, the Almajiri system is actually completely compromised with the begging on the streets. And that is exactly the menace that has come into the Almajiri system. And that is the one that the government can no longer serve as a bystander and just watch looking at it. Government has to come into this and then work on it.
All right, so what we have today could better be described as a street children and not necessarily Almajiri, because from what you have explained, it does seem that there is a deviation, from what it ought to be to what it is at the moment, where, of course, we have street children. Now, how widespread is Almajiri in the northern part of the country?
Well, it is very well. From the news that I just heard, even a few minutes ago, you say there are about 3 million of these Almajiris in Kano State alone. According to the figures that we have, there are more than 10 million children today that are operating the Almajiri system in the entire northern part of the country. And this will amount to, most of them just serving as beggars. They spend more time on the streets begging than actually obtaining the Islamic education that they are supposed to. So, like you said, it's a total deviation, from what the Almajiri system is supposed to be. So the responsibility rests on government, the parents, and the religious teachers altogether.
All right, Ms. Lancy, when you talk about children leaving their homes, friends and well-wishers to seek for Islamic education, is it to the consent of their parents, or do they just leave? Because this is one of the fundamentals. Like the ones that we have on the street today, perhaps may be there without the consent of their parents. Some of them perhaps may not even track or trace their parents any longer.
It will be very few who fall into that category. Majority of them actually live with the consent of the parents. That's why I say the parents are responsible to come into this. In fact, we do have a system. For instance, in Nasarawa State, recently, we came across a truck that came with lots of these innocent children, which is totally abuse of children, to bring them all the way from some states outside Nasarawa State into Nasarawa State to come for begging. And continue with this. So those kind of children, if you go to Kano, you see a lot of these children, some of them coming from other states, like Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, and the rest of them, coming into Kano, Kano being a commercial city, coming to look for something to do. So in the process, their parents are very much aware of that. Their parents bring these children, to these places, but their parents are running away from their own responsibilities. Because when they bring these children, according to the way the system is supposed to be, any parent that is taking a child to a religious leader for Islamic education, you have to cater for the well-being of that child. How much money you are going to be paying, either monthly, quarterly, or yearly, for taking care of the children. But these days, the parents just take these children to go and dump them, so they are shying away from their own responsibility. And it is only government that enforce this part of it to ensure that parents do no longer run away from their own responsibilities.
All right, Governor Sule, in the past there have been attempts by various interest groups in the north to checkmate the phenomenon. Now, do we have an understanding of why those efforts did not address the problem?
Well, most times in this country we start efforts, and then some, especially in a political era like ours. A governor wants to start a program, and then it becomes a little controversial, so the governor becomes unpopular, so the governor backs out. Or another political leader comes in and starts a program, and then it becomes very unpopular, as I said, like the wonderful program that we had in Ruga project that was misunderstood and then portrayed, and then government backs out. So that is what happens when we have this kind of problem. So we have to take responsibility as government and say, no, this is wrong. This cannot happen. We will not agree to this. In order for this to happen, we have to do A, B, C. And then it doesn't matter. If that makes me unpopular, well, so be it. It makes me unpopular. But we have to stand to protect the rights of these children. These children are actually going through that's when we have a lot of criminality, because these children become an avenue, for insurgents to just recruit them. They become easy for human trafficking. They become child laborers. They become all kinds of abuses that these children go through. So we can't just shy away and become bystanders because of fear of being unpopular. So that's why we need to come out and say, no, this is wrong. This is the way to approach it. This is the way we have to go about it so that we can correct it.
Now, correction is the key word here. And we have the Northern Governors Forum. And one wonders, why such issue has not been tabled, in the forum, for all the governors from the north to deliberate on it, and of course, design measures by which solution, could be achieved. So now that you're a governor, you're just a governor for about 2 months or thereabouts. What is your plan with respect to the Almajiri issue? Because for you to appear here this evening to talk about it shows that you have interest in solving that problem. What should be the next step?
Well, I don't think the northern governors had not approached it. As I said, maybe each time we approach the issues and then we back out. We just listened to so many states governors, that came out either through their SSGs or through other people. We saw Bauchi, we saw Kano, we saw Katsina and the rest of that. And each one of them will tell you, we are doing something about it. We are doing something. We are establishing the law that will ensure that these children are protected. We are going to make sure, because when we say education is free, we are not even enforcing it to make sure it's free. Some of these Almajiris, if we enforce the education, that is Western education for that matter, some of us did go to Almajiri schools. When we were young, I didn't go outside my village to go to Almajiri school. I was going to, Roman Catholic school in the morning, and then in the evening I will go to Almajiri school. That's how I acquired my Islamic education. So my parents didn't send me outside my home state to acquire this. So the northern governors are doing it. But let me correct an impression. Almajiri problems is no longer a problem of the north. I think it's a problem of the entire Nigeria. I live most of my life in the U.S. And while in the U.S., we established an association called Zumunta Association. Our logo, actually, the motto of that association is our ethnic diversity is our strength. I live in Lagos since I returned from the U.S. And there are so many Almajiris in this. So it's a big problem for Lagos state government. Each time I travel to other places in the south, I saw these people. When we have these insurgents commit crimes, those crimes are not limited to certain people from certain places. It affects everybody, including foreigners. So I think while the northern governors have to come together, the federal government must also come into this and say that this is the direction we are taking. We have to enforce this. And the same thing with the government of every other state, will have to come into it and see, how do we solve these problems? How do we enforce these laws to make sure that parents become responsible? How do we make it a crime to abuse a child by sending the child to school? Those are the things that if we do it in one state and we don't do it in another state, or we do it in one part of the country, we don't do it in another part of the country, then the problem is not solved. We have to collectively solve this problem. That's the only way it can be solved.
Now, the federal government has said, has actually abolished the Almajiri system in the country. What do you understand by that?
No, you see, the federal government can, that's why I say Almajiri system is probably misunderstood. Almajiri system is a system of acquiring Islamic education. No government in the world can say you cannot acquire Islamic education. What the government probably abolish, will be the street begging, for instance. Actually the disadvantages, the introduction of all the various acts that are bad for Almajiri system that are in the system. The federal government can abolish that. The federal government cannot say, don't acquire Islamic education. Don't acquire. Some of us acquired both. As I said, I went to Roman Catholic mission school, so I acquired Christian education. I also acquired Islamic education. At the same time, I was acquiring both education. So government cannot say, you can do that. I think what government can do is to say, you cannot abuse a child. You cannot take a child and take him to another country and say, acquire education without providing for that child. No parent should do that. So government has the right to abolish that. And that's the direction we are also going.
If I may speak like the ordinary Nigerian, who has listened to you talk about how governors will start a policy to assist the Almajiri, the children, and perhaps because the people, he's becoming unpopular, and he backs down and allows the problem to brew and grow along the line. Would that be good enough for a governor to want to start a policy that will help these children, and because of public outcry, you just withdraw? What do you intend to do in Nasarawa State?
No, as far as Nasarawa State is concerned, as I told you, one, we are going to make it actually a crime for a child to be begging on the street as Almajiri. That is first and foremost. If it makes me unpopular, so be it. It makes me unpopular. We have to protect the rights of these children. We have to make education. You know, we are approaching insecurity in Nasarawa State from 3 different angles. Number one, we are ensuring that all those who graduate from schools and all those who are going to school, all those who have the capacity actually to get jobs by agricultural aspect, because agriculture is a big employer of labor. So we are opening up areas for agriculture in sugar production, in rice production, you know, in wheat production. So that is the direction that we are going to make sure we provide education, you know, to take those who commit crimes out of the street. That is one. Two, you know, we are going on the area of education. You know, we are giving people technical skills, you know, vocational skills, so that people can actually have something to do, so they become employers of themselves from that angle. So we are approaching insecurity also from the part of education. And finally, we are looking at it that these children that are doing this, what do we do, you know, to them? We are making parents responsible for their own words. You know, if you are sending a child to Almajiri school, you must provide for that child. If we find children who don't have parents, you know, there, we are going to take them to a different area that the parents may not like, where you separate them from their parents completely. We take care of these children, but we make sure that no new ones are brought to us. You know, we'll block that. So those are the ways that we are approaching in Nasarawa State, so that we don't continue to breed criminals. You know, because these children, when you leave them, they have nothing to eat. They become criminals. And this is exactly what is happening.
Now, would you like to table this approach, you know, when the Northern Governors Forum, or even if it's the enlarged Governors Forum, you know, meet?
No, not even a Governors Forum. To be honest with you, at the last executive meeting that we have here in the villa, we mentioned that Almajiri system is a menace, because we did have a security meeting, and during the meeting we mentioned that. During the governors meeting, not even Nigerian Northern governors, but during the Northern governors, not Nigerian, all Nigerian governors forum that we had the meeting, we mentioned that, because it's an area that is affecting, as I said, the whole of Nigeria, not just that. So it's something I think that every governor is aware of, and every governor probably will be working on it from different angles that people have.
Now, what will you be telling the parents of these children? Because you said that most of them are there and out on the consent of the other parents.
Yeah, but you see, I watched the news when you were going out, and I saw what Sheikh Dairu Bauchi mentioned. You know, he's mentioning about responsibility of the parents. He's saying that this begging is even forbidden in Islam. So he's teaching them that begging as a whole is forbidden in Islam. So he's teaching them. Somebody introduced sensitization. He said, we have to sensitize these people. Some of them are doing it out of ignorance. You have to actually teach them that what you are doing is wrong. You are shying away from responsibility. You can't bring children to the wall and go and dump them for somebody else to take care of them. You have to take care of your own children. You know, so it requires a lot of education, requires sensitization, you know, but it requires also parents having something to do. Because some of these parents shy away from the responsibility because they don't have anything to take care of these children. So don't bring children to the wall if you can take care of them. That's our attitude to it.
Okay, very briefly, what kind of assistance would states require from federal government to tackle this menace?
Well, every state will require one kind of support or the other. In the past, before I joined politics, that is, I saw a lot of Almajiri schools that were built. Unfortunately, a lot of them are not used as Almajiri schools. I think it was by Jonathan administration, you know, some of them were built. Unfortunately, most of them are not even used as Almajiri schools, because some of them were located where we don't even have Almajiris. I know the one in my area, you know, is actually located in a place where there are even no Almajiris at all for political reasons. You know, so one of the things the government can do is the government to come really understand what this is all about, and the government to be bold enough at the federal level, you know, to say that we are going to establish and say it is a crime to abuse a child. It is a crime to bring children to this world and send them to the Almajiri system where you cannot take care of them. It's a crime to send children to the streets begging. So the federal government can do this, and has to do this, can no longer stand as a bystander and think that this issue is going to shy away and go away on its own.
All right, Your Excellency, the Governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer Abdullahi Sule, It's been great talking to you on this very important issue. I would like to thank you for your insights on this edition of the program. Thank you very much indeed. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
And your thoughts.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I've been speaking with the Governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer Abdullahi Sule. Now, up ahead, we have AFCON highlights, weather, and sports. Stay with us.